The following program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.
Hello again. Another legislative update. Been a couple of weeks since the last show. Today we'll cover some bills from last week in session. And with me today is Representative Katy Peternel. And Katy, introduce yourself.
Hi, thank you for having me on. This is really fun. I'm Katy Peternel. I'm a state representative from Wolfboro, and my districts cover Wolfboro and Tuftonboro up in the beautiful Lakes region.
So thank you for making it. And Katy is on the Education Committee. So we have some education bills. And how many bills do you have in education?
107 from the House.
107, and that doesn't include any coming from the Senate.
Not yet.
We only have 40 in election.
I am a little jealous.
And we're done. But anyway.
Rub it in.
But before we get into some interesting bills from last Thursday, criminal justice. Now, this you might have heard on the news from other places. There was House Bill 1186, Firearms Purchases Privacy. And California passed the law. What else is new? Mandating that certain codes be used for firearm and ammunition purchases. In other words, codes that use in credit cards and whatnot. That way, the government can track who bought guns and who bought ammunition. We made that illegal in New Hampshire, and that passed. So we're lucky that did. And 7 other states have also said no to that. Okay. My bill, remember I mentioned this a while ago, my 1566, my police accountability, that was on the consent calendar for interim study. We had the hearing on that bill, and there was a lot of things that needed fixing in the bill. So we all agreed, it was 18-0 in criminal justice, that we need to work on it over the summer and whatnot, come up with a better bill. That's a bill where I mentioned that it was in big towns, they have their own investigation for vehicle death and those fatalities. But in small towns, the state police do it. So my bill was to allow the governing body in the town or the county sheriff or the county attorney to get the state police to do the investigation. The bill had some problems with legislative services they had contacting the wrong person, and so time-wise, so best to work on it over the summer. So that was okay. Now, education, House Bill 1128. To me, the Dems must have been working all summer to figure out what bills they need to kill EFA, Education Freedom Accounts. But this was another bill to do away with it. So,
they are pretty clever. They do find every little chink in the armor that they can find. House Bill 1128 was indefinitely postponed, thankfully, by 191 to 187.
Right,
but it would require that third-party contractors administering the education freedom accounts be a New Hampshire incorporated nonprofit. So we have a company called the Children's Scholarship Fund, which is registered in New York, but they're registered also with our Secretary of State as a foreign nonprofit in good standing. So they administer both the tax credit scholarship and the education freedom accounts. So the state appointed administrator had been in the past running the tax credit scholarship by herself.
Yeah.
And called in help from the Children's Scholarship Fund, which allowed her to earn an income. She was only making $20,000 a year, I think, running the scholarship fund. And then she was able to expand the EFA program easily when it became law.
Yeah, and this would have cost money to do that, and in other words, then they give another argument why we got to do the EFA and education freedom accounts is allow your children to go to a private school, and the state pays. They don't pay anybody. They put the money in the account. that can be used for, in other words, tuition, or in case of homeschooling, EFA homeschooling, not regular homeschooling, to use money for books and other stuff, and for tuition. And it's the same amount of money that goes to the public school for your student. So if the student leaves the public school, that money follows the child. And I like to say it's not public education, it's education for the public. You know, just
Yeah,
one way of
that's a
looking at
very good way of looking at it. We need an educated public.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah. I mean, one thing good about COVID, what came about for all this was when students were doing remote in New Hampshire, the parents realized what their kids were being taught. So that's why, there's a big interest in EFA accounts and homeschoolings, and why, for example, now the population of Litchfield population may increase a bit because we got developments going on. But the thing is when I was on the school board in 2010, for example, of my last year on it, we had 1,500 kids in our school system. Now we only have 900. So
Wow.
the population has increased a little. And my school population might have gone some, but it's gone. But where do the kids go? They're being homeschooled,
That's a lot
or
of
St. Francis is expanding, and charter schools. Charter schools, by the way, are public schools. And they run their school pretty much on 1/3 to 1/2 of what your public school costs. And they pretty much have the better rating for kids. And what's interesting I find about charter schools is that every 5 years they have to prove they're doing their job, or they lose their charter. The Board of Education says, no. What would happen if it was a public school? They'd still go on.
We would
So,
send
I
them more
mean,
money.
Right, the charter schools definitely have, and it's up to the parent. If the kid's not getting a good education, they can take the kids out and put them back in the public school. Yeah, so.
Are you saying parents have accountability?
Right, they have accountability. So, any other, ed funding?
Education
In
funding
funding.
was big last week in the House. We
Yeah.
had several bills because of those court decisions from the Rockingham Superior
Right.
Court.
Yeah.
So we had House Bill 1583, which is related to the Conval decision that came out of Rockingham Superior Court,
Right.
where Judge Ruoff declared that the cost of an adequate education is $7,356.01.
Even 50 years from now, that's what it'd be. I mean, that's what,
Maybe.
I mean, I think it'll finally get up ruling on that one, because Supreme Court. I mean, how can you set an amount? That's like in the New Hampshire Constitution, it says we only get $100 a year. It's in the Constitution. When that was put in the Constitution, $100 was equivalent to about 6-month pay for the average person. You know? So what did this bill do?
So this bill raised the base adequacy, which is what the Conval decision did, was raise the base adequacy, which last year we had increased it from about 3,800 to 4,100. And now this bill increases it to 4,400. So
Okay.
we've bumped it up another $200 per pupil. But it increases the overall funding formula by $64 million. And I think last year we gave like we gave a lot of money to education funding last year too.
Yeah.
So.
But I remember there was a bill.
160 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably available, because I remember finance wanted the bill to take any leftover money in the education funding and put it in the general fund, which we killed.
Right.
Yeah, so I mean, no, leave it where it's there. But the point is, I think a lot of people, we need more money. I keep hearing that. We need more money to go to the public schools and need more money. And so where's that money coming from?
Your property taxes.
I mean, now, but in the future, if they
In the
want the
future?
state to pay, where's the state gonna get the money? We're not like Washington where we just print the money. We can't do that. In New Hampshire, it's got to be a balanced budget. So right now, most of the money is coming from business taxes and those kind of things. And the problem is we have one of the highest business taxes in New England. So the problem is we're trying to lower that to get more businesses, which then will increase. Yeah, some
Yeah.
people don't see that.
More
Yeah.
taxes, because there's more business paying more taxes.
Right. Well, yeah. So, but yeah, that's a big problem, and people got to realize that unless you want an income tax, it's not going to hurt me anything. I'm retired, but I'm not going to ever vote for an income tax. That happened in Connecticut many years ago, where they did the same thing. Oh, the property tax was high, let's have an income tax. It didn't lower their property
No,
tax.
the taxes never go down.
No.
No.
The government will find, which I'm part of the government, the government will find other ways to spend your money if they have it. So,
Yeah, even if we try not to.
I know it. I mean, and it all depends on, now a lot of things too, and I mentioned on your committee because it comes out good on that, but even in our election law, people always say that the House is a bunch of old white men with white hair, like me. But
Is that me?
no, but on education, the committee, there's 20 people, ranges range from 19
Yeah.
to Rick Ladd, who's my age, 78 or 79, I don't know when his birthday is,
I
but
don't
it's
know.
the same age.
Yeah.
So there's a 60-year difference, and a bunch, then all in between. In that election law, the youngest person is 24, and then it goes up. I mean, it's a big range. And also, I think, even though there's 400 members, I bet percentage-wise, there's a higher number of women legislators in our than any other legislature. So, I mean, we pretty much hit the demographics. More so, I mean, I think like 30 years ago or so, I think PBS did a show on checking the demographics of the House versus the state, and they found that we were pretty darn close.
Oh.
There was a lot of
that's
old people in the legislature, but there was a lot of old people in the state. The number of old people in the state, elderly, has increased. So it's probably off now.
Well, one of the arguments for paying us more is
Well-
because you have to be able to afford to be able to run for office and put the time in. I mean, on the education committee, I'm there sometimes
yeah.
5 days a week right
Yeah,
now.
yeah. I know, and for $100, that's all, get mileage.
Yeah.
So
You get your
anything
money's
else
worth
on
out of us.
education?
Well, yes, because we had the RAND decision also that came down from the Superior Court, which had to do with collecting the excess the excess statewide education property tax.
Oh, right, which,
Yeah, and I'm from a town where that makes a difference.
yeah. My thing, something I've always fought against, doing away with that. Because it's local. It doesn't leave your town. Used to be donut town. We did away with the donut town. Your statewide education property tax stays in your town. It doesn't leave. My thing on it, it costs your town money. For example, on our town warrant, and this year, is for doing a reappraisal. It's got to be done by law every 5 years. The only reason that's got to be done every 5 years is because of the statewide education property tax. So, which is why I've been fighting for years let's just get rid of it. I mean, you're going to end up paying the same property taxes. I mean, if you look at the tax bill, you see the statewide education property. It went down last year because the state lowered it, but then it went up this past year. So, the thing is, but to me, it's...
Well, but we tabled this bill
Right, okay.
because we aren't sure how the court decisions are going to be affected by passing it.
Oh, right. Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
we had to table it. But interestingly, our committees are 10 and 10, basically 10 Democrats and 10 Republicans. And oftentimes on education, our bills come out 10 Democrats against 10 Republicans.
yeah, I'll do
But
too.
this excess swept bill came out of our committee 10 and 10, not on party lines. We all.
Oh,
yeah,
that's interesting.
That was a good day, yeah.
That was
When the
interesting.
clerk called the vote, we were all surprised. But
Oh, right, because we have the chair for it and the vice chair against it.
right,
You don't see that too often.
no.
We did that once on election law. But anyway,
Yeah, so the last week in the Rand decision, the Superior Court rejected any motions to stay his decision and
right,
said we
yeah.
have to collect the state has to collect the excess swept and keep it in escrow within
Right,
60
oh.
days. That's
But, yeah, I
2.8
think,
million
yeah.
from my
I
district.
think it'll end up, going to the Supreme Court.
Yeah,
And, I mean, to me, is how the Supreme Court got involved with it anyway, with the Claremont decision. I mean, I liked, if you ever read the reading on it, I looked, I mean, it was so ridiculous. And some part of the decision with other states. I mean, why is the state Supreme Court even look at what other states do?
oh, they compare our constitution to Massachusetts Constitution.
Yeah.
Yes.
The thing is, because they took the word cherish to mean pay for. Wait a minute. Okay. But, that's always been my thing. Some years, I think 10, 12 years ago, we thought, let's put a constitutional amendment in, just in the Constitution, to define the word cherish.
We have a bill like that this year.
I mean, again, and it doesn't mean pay for, Okay. Also, now a little election law, which I'm in. Again, and there's no redistricting going on until 10 years from now. It's every 10 years with the census. But we had a bill relative to establishing an advisory redistricting commission. Now, over the years, we've had this for an independent advisory. Now, how do you get an independent commission for elections? This bill was going to be, I think it was 5 Democrats, 5 Republicans, and 5 independents. What's an independent voter?
I don't know. We have several independents in the House. But they vote typically with one or the other party.
I know it. The thing is, there's nobody in independent. When you find somebody that's never voted, then you really want them on redistricting. So, I mean, it's the Constitution. To me, what really needs to be fixed is because I can't find anywhere in the Constitution where it says that the legislature does the redistricting. There's nothing in there saying the governor has any say in it. And my thing is, I think we need to fix that. We don't need just the rules to do that. And the 3 redistrict thing that I've been not involved with, but the first one I was going to start running, was the governor messed it up. The first time was with our redistricting. The governor vetoed it, Gene Shaheen, and didn't like it. So the House couldn't come up with a fix. So it went to the court. The court didn't like the word floterial.
Oh,
This is like 2002. So they made all these ridiculous districts. And for those around like Litchfield, we were vote for no more than 13. Where it was Hudson, Pelham, and Litchfield. 4 of those years, Litchfield had no representation because we're the smaller of the 3.
you didn't have any voice.
And we wouldn't have had any if Pelham decided to run more than one person. If they ran a couple of people, we wouldn't have had any reps for those 10 years. So I was on election law in 5-6, and we put in the constitutional amendment, which passed. We should have added another couple of words at the next election, but we didn't. We had to wait until 10 years later to classify that each town will have X number of people will have their own reps, and the word floterial was. And by the way, when I looked in the dictionary then, it wasn't even in the dictionary for the word floterial. but other states had it in their constitution.
That's
You
great.
know, it's that large, really. I don't know. Anyway, like right now in Litchfield, we have 2 reps and 2 flotilles with Hudson, because we have more than what's needed for 2 reps and less than 1. I don't know why we need 2, but it should have been 1, but one with Hudson. But we have 2 with Hudson. So that went indefinitely postponed, and that means, like the education bills, it can't come up again this year. Okay, they can put it in again next year. So in other words, tabling, somebody can take it off the table. So indefinitely postponed said it's dead. We can't even talk about it. We can't add it to another bill. It's done. Okay, so that's the biggest problem in redistricting. Okay, also, and I didn't know this, there's a bill coming up, it'll be in probably next session, House Bill 1099, to allow school districts to have partisan elections. Now, I knew about this in 1979, municipal elections could also be done that way, but nobody knows it. So in other words, for your town elections, school district elections, you can be just like your general election. You can have Republican, Democrats, other, okay? And even if you're a Republican, you can still sign up for other, you know? And some people say, well, it came out of the committee 1010, because some people say, well, it caused division. No, I think it'll get more people to vote, you know? And which is needed. Your most important election is your town election.
Especially
That's where
the
your
school
money's
board.
going. You know, so that's something that I think we really need. Okay. So are you an SB2 town, and where you
We're
are?
an SB2 town.
Okay, good.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, and here's an interesting one. House Bill 1680 in Environment and Agriculture, prohibiting the sale of dogs and cats by retail pet shop. It would kill 260 to 117. I see what they were trying to get to. To me, it should be prohibit the sale of dogs from puppy mills. You know, because you've always seen the ads.
Yeah.
I mean, but just, you know, where the dogs come from, you don't know. And it could be from a local breeder. I mean,
Yeah, and what defines a puppy mill? How do you,
I know, it's,
Keep
I'd say
that
what they were trying to get
registered.
to, but it was a little too broad. Oh, and then one of my favorites, House Bill 1322, increasing the minimum hourly wage. That was also indefinitely postponed 193 to 187. The market decides the causes of inflation, the way I look at it. For example, and I've always given this example, when I first started working when I was going to high school in like 1963, I was senior, the minimum wage then was like $1.25. When you started working, what was the minimum wage?
oh gosh, I can't even remember.
Oh, just a couple
Probably-
bucks. But the
Yeah.
thing was, but on my way to work, from the I'd stopped at Burger King, which in Florida, Burger King existed there long before McDonald's did. Anyway, I could stop at Burger King and got a Whopper, French fries, and a milkshake for a grand total of 78 cents.
Yeah, you just can't do that anymore.
No, but the point of reason, because the minimum wage kept going up, up, up.
Right.
So and the best one I've seen on television is, I think in California, somebody running for rep in some district wants to make the minimum wage $50.
$50.
$50. So that'd be like
Wow.
some third world country where you go to the store with a shopping cart filled of money. I mean, come on. Right now, the minimum wage, yeah, it's $7 and something federal, but it's really like $15, $16.
I don't think any of my kids ever were paid minimum wage.
No,
Ever.
No.
No. In fact, one of my friend's sons was being paid $15 an hour as a dishwasher. That was probably 8 years ago.
I know,
And
yeah.
I thought that he was overpaid.
Right, because he doesn't do them at home.
Yeah. Exactly, that was the point.
So I had a couple minutes left. So anything you want to add?
I think we covered most of the education bills.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anything else? Okay.
Yeah,
So,
no, we've covered all
so
the
March-
funding bills that were.
March 12th is there's a town school district elections. So make sure everybody gets out and votes. So I want to bring this up again. I did it a couple of weeks ago. For the new school, this is your estimated tax impact that's going to happen. Okay, in 2025, it's only going to be $17 because the school building aid is in, and that happens. And then the rest of the school building aid in 26. But then look at what happens in 2028, 2029. It's going to be like $1,300 extra that you're going to be paying on your taxes for the school. Now, do we need a new school? Depends on, hey, can you afford it? So that's what I just want to show there. So from 29 to 31, then it's 906, then it keeps going down. 2042 is going to be $648 extra that you're going to have to pay. So it's up to you. That's on the ballot. So anyway, so with that, I think the big thing is get out and vote. It's your property taxes. I remember last year we were shocked with the 20% increase in our property taxes because not enough people went to vote. I know the weather was bad. The moderator didn't change the voting like other towns did to the following week or 2 weeks, like Hudson did. Then it probably been more people voting. But this is your most important election of the year. Not the general, not the primaries. This is where all your money is going. And I've been saying that for years. So this is the get out and vote. So
You're absolutely right. People like to look at us state reps and say, why are our taxes so high? And I said, those are based on the decisions that you made.
right.
Yeah.
And don't ask the state. The state doesn't have any money. The state, unless you want an income tax, then elect people who will give you an income tax. But I mean, that's what people are pushing for. They've been pushing for that for the last 50 years, close to the time I've been in New Hampshire. I mean, they want an income tax. They want an income tax. And the only thing, income's not good. There are towns in Massachusetts where they have an income tax that still have higher property taxes than New Hampshire. Yeah. And look at New Jersey where they have an income tax and it's high sales tax, and they have some of the highest property taxes in the country. So it's not going to help. So
I just saw a cry for help from Groton, town of Groton in Massachusetts,
Right.
asking any of us from New Hampshire to come and help them keep their school taxes low.
Oh, yeah, there was a interesting point in finance of when to spend money for the governor to send National Guard down to Texas. Some people are complaining about that. Where's that money coming from? I put it this way. Massachusetts is complaining about all the illegal aliens coming into that state. What's the next step you think Massachusetts is going to do? They're going to ship them up here. Now we know Nashua will probably take them. And so what are we going to do? That's going to increase the kids in your school, increase the drugs, which we know we already have a big problem with fentanyl coming in from across the border. So we need to stop it. Close the border, and hopefully we can help doing that. So with that, thank you, Katie.
Thank you.
For coming in, and with that, good night or good day, whenever this appears.
The preceding program was provided by an independent producer solely responsible for its content. The opinions expressed do not necessarily represent the views of this station, its staff, board of directors, or underwriters.